And breaking news, the Prime Minister earlier has dialed the French President Emmanuel Macron in the wake of Australia's cancellation of a submarine deal with France. The French President Emmanuel Macron also discussed cooperating over the Indo-Pacific region with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. As remember, the France deal with the fallout from Australia's cancellation of a $40 billion French submarine order. But all this coming in the wake of a lot more permutations and combinations that, remember, are getting reset, particularly on the global world stage. You're looking at the Prime Minister heading to the US. Sushant, good evening. What do you make of this conversation that happened between the Prime Minister and Emmanuel Macron? You know, France actually has said that we feel backstabbed. India right now, Sushant, on the issue of AUKUS has said we don't want to comment much, and it is very different from what Quad is. But how do you make sense of these global developments?
Well, I think everybody's trying to make sense of these global developments, even the people who are involved in it. But the thing is that, look, from India's perspective, let us not forget that France has been a critical partner for India for many, many years. In fact, at a time way back in 1998 when we tested our nuclear weapons, it was the French who stuck by us when everybody else was trying to target us. And our strategic relationship with the French goes back many, many decades. So I think the French are an indispensable partner for India. And the way, the French have been treated shabbily by their very close allies, including the UK and the US, I think it's a good outreach from the Indian Prime Minister to the French, that our relationship remains very much intact. It is quite possible that, the kind of bitterness which has come in because of the way the French have been treated, kept out of the loop, might not last for very long because there is bigger fish to fry for all these countries and there are greater challenges that they have to face. But nevertheless, I think it will, leave a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth for many, many years to come. And I think India, by reaching out to the French, even as we deepen our cooperation in the Quad, I think is a good diplomacy from the Indian side, and keeping the French very much in the loop, keeping our relationship with the French going. I think it's extremely critical and important for us to, not simply go into the U.S. arms and leave all our other friends and allies in the lurch. So I think this is good and sensible diplomacy from the Indian Prime Minister.
Okay, and Sushant, before I let you go, issues of Pakistan, issues of terrorism, issues of radicalism, all these are going to be discussed. But do you believe that China, again, is going to be that one elephant in the room and should be the one when you talk of all these global powers who, perhaps have varied views on other issues? But when it comes to China and its belligerent behavior, this is one thing that gets all of them together.
Yes, it does get all of them together. But, looking at China just in and of itself, I don't think that is enough. Because, for example, China might be the biggest threat insofar as Japan or the Australians or even the US is concerned. But from India's point of view, we face China on two fronts now. We face them in the east and the north, but we also face them in the west now. Because the Pakistanis are virtual client state of the Chinese. And if we see that the Americans are going to be soft pedaling on Pakistan, treating them with kid gloves, despite having, suffered the backstabbing which they have from the Pakistanis, getting their soldiers killed and losing a war because of Pakistan. And yet if we see that the Americans, lean over backwards to accommodate Pakistan or their new conquered territory, Afghanistan, then clearly that is not something which is going to go down well in India. It was okay as long as the Americans were present in Afghanistan, because then, the threats that emanated from the west of India remained under control. But now that's not the case. So for them to say that, listen, don't bother about the west, let's only talk about the east, doesn't work well for us, because we face a serious challenge and threat on our western side as well. So yes, while China will be the most important talking point, you cannot divorce China from what is happening to India's west. And if that happens, then we'll have to make other alliances, including with the Iranians, with the Russians, and many other countries, which might not be that palatable to the Americans, but that's just too bad. They'll have to lump it because ultimately they dumped everybody when they walked out of Afghanistan. So we'll have to do what we think is required for us to protect our own sovereignty and security.
Absolutely. I think, Sushant, the next few days will hold the key to, I think, a lot of those questions that people are asking. For the moment, thank you for adding perspective to that story. And Republic, remember, as always, is going to be live on that big story and the coverage of the Prime Minister in America.